here. Let me see. Okay. Hello. Let me try this again. It looked like I was muted. I'm Lyndon Wilson, and I am the creator of The Difference and the host of The Difference Makers. And what we have done with The Difference is we've taken internet media, live streaming, podcasting, and radio, internet radio, and we are forming a media company that helps small businesses, local small businesses, entrepreneurs, self-employed, and giving them a voice within their community so that we can humanize our brand as versus commercialize it, let people get to know who we are and what we're all about. And with The Difference Makers, what I'm doing is I'm bringing on some local business professionals and their guests, and we're talking a little bit about what they do and what they do within their community, why their community is important to them, and what you can do as a consumer to help support the small businesses. So I'm going to bring in my co-host for this first segment, Miss Julie Altemus with Super Home Warranty. How are you doing, Julie?
Well, hello. I'm doing fantastic. Spring, my favorite time of year. It's here.
Man, it's so nice outside today, and I've been stuck inside just about all day long. So hopefully
me too,
we'll
but
finish.
I'm going to make myself go outside and walk for 15 minutes. That's all I need. I just need a little sunshine and then get back in front of my desk. Yeah.
Well, today for me has been pretty busy. I get out a little bit every day and kind of do what you're talking about. I walk a little bit. I've got to start walking a lot more. The scale tells me I need to anyway.
Yeah. And your clothes are getting a little snug.
Right. So I want you to tell everybody that's watching, tell them a little bit about Super, how you got involved in that, what you do. If anybody's interested, tell everybody the perfect client for you, the perfect referral partner for you, whatever it is you may do. I want you to talk a little bit about that, and then I want you to introduce your guest.
Sure. So I am Julie Altemus. I'm from the Dallas area. Woohoo! There's not very many of us that are still left. They're native Dallasites, and I'm one of them. And I guess I joined Super I'm sneaking up on 4 years. So I'm right just over the 3.5-year mark now. Learned about this company reinventing the home warranty industry. And it took a little nudging and a little coercing. But after I saw the vision of the CEO of this company and where it's headed in the future, it was a ringing yes. It was one of the best things that I ever did. And it was a fantastic choice. So Super's reinventing the home warranty industry, like I mentioned, shaking things up. It's been a very old traditional sector in our industry for a long time with very little changes. And so this company started as a tech company based out of Silicon Valley, and it's grown by leaps and bounds in terms of where we're spreading out across the United States in different states. So right now, I would say my biggest target is realtors or brokerages. But the company is going to be focusing on more direct to consumer moving forward in 2021 and beyond. But for now, we very heavily focused in the real estate industry because that's what you're supposed to do when you're a startup. There are certain parameters that you stay within and grow your network and then spread your wings as you go along. So that's where we are in the process, is growing exponentially. So as my CEO says, our big, hairy, audacious goal, he calls it a BHAG, is that in the year 2030, we will be in 1 out of every 4 homes. So we're not just a home warranty company, but we really do care about the consumer maintaining their house, taking care of their house. So we've gotten ourselves into the what we call, more of like a marketplace where we offer maintenance services for the home, like carpet cleaning and window washing and cleaning out the dryer vents and tuning up their AC. We're even getting into AC monitoring as well, so that we can let the homeowner know there's an issue before their AC system goes down and they're stuck without air conditioning in the summer. So that's probably the coolest thing, no pun intended, the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I like that. You can use that. Just tell everybody we have the coolest thing you've ever heard.
That's right. We do.
Man, how many people in Texas need that? Because there's nothing like waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Texas summer night when it's 95 degrees outside, realizing your AC just went out. And especially if it's on a Friday night and you've got the whole weekend, to try to get an AC guy out, which is either super expensive, no pun intended, or you can't get them till Monday.
You can't find them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean,
So
I had
that's
friends in the industry, and when my personal AC went down and I needed help, I had to wait a week. And I have several friends, called all of them, and I had to wait a week. So
I had to wait a week one time. So I had to go buy one of those the
window unit.
little, well, it wasn't a window unit. I don't know what they're called, but it was on wheels, and you run this pipe to your. It was like a window unit because you had to run this tube to your window, and it didn't work very well, but it was better than nothing.
I know what you're talking about.
Did you mentioned that you guys want to be in 1 to 4 homes? Is that what, do I have that right? In 1 out of every 4 homes?
One out of every 4 homes by 2030.
Wow. So when you reach that goal, you really will be an impact player in every community, right?
Mm-hmm. True. Yes. And I'm sure I'll be running Mach 2 with my hair on fire too.
Well, you're going to have to tell them to get you some help. You got to get some help, Julie.
That's right.
Y'all get into 1 out of every 4 homes. Super is going to be the place to work for sure. So y'all shouldn't have a problem finding you some help.
I'll tell you what, Lyndon, just speaking of the industry being different and changing, right now we're in a very crazy climate in this real estate industry because everything is so competitive. So some people still don't understand how competitive it is. And what I mean by that is sellers will say, oh, I don't know about, listing my house right now. Is it going to sell? And how long is it going to be on the market? And I'm like, friend, I mean, your house is going to be gone in 24 hours with 50 different contracts on it. That's how crazy it is. And sometimes home warranties, home inspections, and things like that, people are leaving that off out of the offer. And even waiving appraisals and all kinds of crazy things. But homeowners still need help. At the end of the day, they don't want thousands of dollars taken out of their pocket for major repairs and replacements. So even if the seller is not crediting the buyer for a home warranty just because of the stiff competition, it's still important to have one. It's still important to have a home inspection, even if the seller is not going to do it. So
right.
At the end of the day, we want our consumers to be protected. So that's why we keep expanding our services so that we can be more like a home wellness program for the house rather than just being pigeonholed as a home warranty company. That's
a great point. I've had this conversation. I've been around the real estate industry for 20 plus years, and we see a lot of home buyer seminars, and those are really good, especially for people that's never bought before, never gone through that experience, don't know what to expect. And I have tried to encourage people in the real estate industry to do a home ownership seminar on the things that you need to be doing as an owner and maintenance and all the different things that we need to do. Number one, to save those ancillary costs of owning a home, right? Because a lot of people get into home ownership, they're thinking mortgage, taxes, insurance, all, just the things that we all know about. And then they get in, especially if they've come from renting, and now they've got all this maintenance.
Right. They don't understand the value of changing an air filter once a month. They don't understand how important that is, so they don't do it. Right. They don't tune up their AC or their heat every year either. So that's like driving a car and never adding oil. Right. Or gasoline or any of the other functioning fluids that you need in a vehicle. It's the same way with your home, and eventually it's going to break down because you're not taking care of it. Then you are going to be paying a lot more money than your $150 service call or whatever it is. For super, it's $75. But I'm saying if somebody didn't have a home warranty, they may just go and hire an ABC company down the street. So that's a mistake.
How many people have something go wrong with the home, and when they realize how much it is, now with an air conditioner, you're probably going to have, you really don't have an option. You've got to fix that or you can't live in Texas. Right. But with some other smaller things, how many people put that off and just, I'll fix it later because I don't want to go through that expense now. And by the time they get ready to sell their house, the value has depreciated because they haven't been taking care of the little things. And now what they're trying to get on the market, they're not getting. In this market, I don't know if that even matters, because what I'm hearing now, houses are just, they're going for whatever someone's willing to pay. Right. It doesn't matter what the appraisal is. But in a market where the appraisal is important, I see a lot of people that lose so much equity in their home because they didn't maintain it in some ways that would have been really easy and really inexpensive. And home warranty is one of the things that they can do to make sure that gets taken care of, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we aren't going to take over a house that has a whole bunch of pre-existing conditions, meaning we're not going to take over like Superman and save the day and buy you a brand new AC unit that's completely broken down and rusted and doesn't function. But the day that we put the warranty in place, if, you know, as far as you know, everything's in pretty good working order, and that day we put a warranty on, that's going to be covered moving forward. It does matter who you choose. I will say that not every home warranty company is alike. And I would say the major players in the industry that you know about, you could probably think of some names right off the top of your head, are not the ones that have the best coverage, but they're the ones that have the biggest names because they've been out there for decades.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's good information. Before we bring in your guest, before we talk about him, I did want to mention one other thing that people need to know about. And as we talk about small businesses or independent contractors, whatever it may be, and how we're working and impacting our community, I wanted you to touch on just a little bit with people listening, the education that you provide for your real estate agents and for people that are in charge of selling and helping sell and helping others buy homes. And talk a little bit about the education that you and Super provides those professionals. And so if someone's looking to know a little bit more about home warranty or some of the things you teach, how to get in touch with you about that.
Sure. Well, there's a couple of things. So I'm lucky that I'm gifted in teaching. And so this is something that I just love to do. In fact, the guest that I'm going to bring on here in just a minute specializes in biblical worldview curriculum, which I taught my kids homeschooling, for many years. So this is a gift that I absolutely love, and I've just utilized it in my business. So I teach realtors and go into brokerages and teach things like Home Warranty 101, what to watch out for, what kind of things do you need to know as an agent that empowers your buyer at the end of the day to have peace of mind when they take over their new home in the following year and years to come. And then I also teach, it's called Boosting Your Sales with Effective Communication. It's really John Maxwell material. I'm a certified John Maxwell speaker and coach. And I took that material and just specialized it or tailored it, if you will, into this industry, teaching people how to have strong connections in their relationships with their clients. Because let's face it, realtors, they all work on referrals and building that business on doing a good job and referring, repeat over and over business again. And so it's crucial to have strong connections, not only with the current clients that you have, but also partnerships, like when they need their roofers and they need their painters and they need home warranty people or home inspection people or foundation people. It's crucial to have those strong connections. And so I do teach a class about that as well, just how to turn on a connection button, if you will.
Okay. All right. Well, now I think it's time to bring in your guest. I'm excited to hear about him, who he is, what he does, and I'm sure I'm going to have some really, besides the questions we're going to talk about, I'm probably going to have some other questions too. So I hope he's okay with that. But I want you to introduce him now.
So Greg Rogers, I'm happy to introduce Greg Rogers. I found out about him through a mutual friend. With our children kind of grew up together and playing sports and being on the field. And so I really liked what the things that I learned about Greg. As I mentioned a minute ago, he is the CEO for 7-Star, which is curriculum that is biblically based and gives us a broad worldview of looking at curriculum through that lens, and is apparently pretty rigorous. I couldn't give that testimony for myself, as I didn't go through that. I didn't know about Greg then, so I didn't know about that curriculum, but this is the kind of stuff that we starved for as homeschooling parents. And so at the time, just whatever resources we had or whatever biblical knowledge we had that we could instill in our children from an early age is what we utilized. So finding out about Greg and all that he has done, I'm super excited to introduce you. I'll let him tell you everything. He comes from an entrepreneur background anyway, and has a history in the healthcare. I said that right, has a history in healthcare. So I'll let him give you a little bit more information about his background. But Greg, come on in and join us and tell us all about this curriculum and 7-Star.
You bet. Thank you so much for having me. I
Welcome.
Really look forward to the opportunity. This is great.
Well, we're glad to have you. Glad to have you, Greg.
Much.
When we get started, I want you to, I know Julie gave you a great introduction, but I want you to just tell everybody a little bit about who Greg Rogers is, what you do, how you got involved with that, a little bit about your history and what you're doing now.
Absolutely, you bet. Yeah, my name's Greg Rogers, obviously, and I'm the CEO of 7-Star. I've actually been here for about a year. I started just before Easter last year, and have come in just looking for opportunities, a lot about partnership. But you asked what we do. It's really working in primarily two different markets. We work with Christian schools in helping them when they have needs for educational materials, but then we also work directly with families and homeschool groups as well. So there's kind of two different markets that we work in there. How I got here is kind of interesting. I was 27 years in healthcare. And so a lot of people ask me, okay, how in the world did you end up over in education? I had a friend of mine that is the owner of 7-Star and actually came to me and said, Greg, I'm looking for someone that comes in and maybe thinks about things a little bit differently, and could come in and maybe help us think about strategically, where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish? And one of the things that really struck me was just whether it's in homeschools or in schools, that especially with COVID and everything that was happening there, it was such a burgeoning market, and so many people that were getting into it and trying to fulfill those needs. The question was, were they fulfilling it in a way that one was high quality in terms of the education that was being provided? Two, was it flexible and really something that was able for families to work with us or work with the entity that was bringing that curriculum, and also for schools to work with very easily? And then was there the kind of support that was there that would allow a family who's maybe homeschooling, when they get to an AP chemistry course and they're saying, how in the world am I going to deal with this with my child? I don't know chemistry that well, and I don't know where to go to get that they would know that they had a subject certified expert in that area that was going to be working with their child and would be able to be a source of peace of mind for them as they were working and looking towards their student and what was going to happen with them in the future.
You know, I never thought about that from being a homeschool parent, that there's going to be some subjects out there you're not very good at. That'd be kind of difficult and a challenge in itself, wouldn't it? Can't imagine what you could probably learn as much as a parent teaching as you would as the child going through it.
Right. Well, think about it. If you're trying to learn Chinese and you're like, okay, where do I go to do that? Well, at 7-Star, you can. So wow. It's amazing the type of curriculum that we provide, AP courses, dual credit courses, just ways that, again, come along families, come along schools, and either help them to reach their goals. And particularly if you're talking about business to business, schools obviously looking to reach goals that they have for their students and what they're trying to do and penetrate their market to bring more students to their classrooms. To be able to offer something as an online education to come in and complement what they're doing, maybe providing some courses that weren't available in their brick and mortar school. Now they could offer that to students and have those students join into their classrooms. Or again, on the family side, maybe it's a student who is working a really tough schedule because they're involved with a lot of sports, and they're traveling with their teams, and they're like, how in the world am I going to stay on top of my schedule?
Yeah.
Be able to get the education I want and all. It's amazing what we're able to do with the technology now. How
has 2020 impacted in the COVID and people, most everybody homeschooling now, or at least at one point? How did that impact you guys? As far, were you called on more because of your curriculum than before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think last year actually was our best year, and we're anticipating growing from there. And a lot of it was the schools that were looking for how do we provide this education, keep providing this education when our students are struggling to be able to get into the classroom. And then again, homeschools, the students where the parents are looking and saying now they became new homeschool students because now the family was looking for another alternative possibly that they could afford. And now it was thrust upon them in some cases to become homeschool parents. And we were providing a way that they could do that and do it well.
Okay. So, I'm so glad Julie sent me an email that said that you were very flexible on the questions, because we did have 5 we were going to talk about, but I've got so
Yeah.
many more now that really pertain more to your business than just about business in the community. How does the curriculum of 7-Star differ from, say, just the UIL, what their curriculum is? Because it's for I taught. Oh, I didn't teach, but I was a football coach at a private school
Yes.
for years. There's a distinct difference in what gets taught in a lot of private schools and what gets taught in public schools. I'm not here to say one's better than the other, one's worse than the other, but there's a difference.
Right.
How would you characterize what your curriculum versus just your public school curriculum?
Well, I'd say 2 different ways. Number one is going to be the biblical integration that's involved. We take that very seriously and want it to be an integration that just it's not just about having a Bible verse off to the side that they can read while they are actually going through the material. It's actually having much more than that. And sometimes video, sometimes it's interactive, sometimes it's just in the way it's written. It tries to make it so it ties into that subject matter and tells you about why God was involved with, whether it's math or science or history or what have you. It gives that integration in such a way that there's an application of that Bible knowledge within that subject matter. But stepping away from the biblical integration, which obviously for we as believers is paramount.
Right.
But also, parents are paying for their students to come through and get a great education. They don't want to have them be able to take this class and just get a grade. They want them to master the subject. And so when we look at things like measures like AP courses, if you look at the general population of someone taking an AP course, the average score on the AP test is about 2.3 is what the average score is out there. For students that go through our AP courses, our average grade is a 3.6 on the AP exam.
Wow.
So when you think about that, that translates directly over into, it's not just about them getting a good grade, it's about them mastering the course. And if you master that course, then how you look at it is, how do they do on either the next course or like with an AP exam, how are they doing in mastering that? If you think about that, that translates directly over to dollars for that family, because now that's them being able to test out of courses in college and being able to have that money for other purposes. So, and which can obviously tie into money for them going in and doing their own entrepreneurial businesses if they like, or just family leisure and things that they want to do. So,
Greg, are they learning from a teacher live, or is it curriculum on slides and things that they go through?
Well, it's written material. There are some video portions that are interjected, but yes, you have a live instructor. Not every day in the course. We believe that you should study it self-directed, self-guided. But what you have is a subject certified expert that's there to come alongside that student can text, can email, can have live phone calls with when they are in need of that kind of help. Usually about 20% or so of that time is spent before the test to make sure whatever they're dealing with, they go into the tests that they have and are ready and prepared for them. But then we also circle back afterwards and make sure whatever happened with the test, whatever was missed or what happened, we want to make sure that there is help there as well, so that they can continue to progress and master that course. So I think the great thing about with our subject certified experts is that they are certified in that course. In a lot of online classrooms environments, what you get is someone who's certified in math, but maybe not in trigonometry. And that's what we are. We make it so it's certified in that particular course, and your student can get in touch with them whenever they need them to be able to get help as necessary. So,
how long has 7-Star been around?
We're in our 15th year this year. So we've been around for quite some time, and are pretty well known, in particular amongst Christian schools. We're a little bit different than other online educators. Other online educators kind of got their start working specifically with families, with individual students. We actually saw that there wasn't anyone working with specifically schools. And so we decided to come alongside schools and work with them when they had teachers that maybe got sick and would be out for entire semesters. Well, we would step in and teach the entire course for that semester for some schools. So it's a little bit of a different approach. We're right now entering into the family market, but do so acting almost as a school. We actually are licensed as a school ourselves.
Wow.
Have an academy. Yes.
How many Christian schools do you guys serve? How many individual homeschools do you serve? Do you have any numbers on that?
Yeah, well, we've just started moving into the family market and working with individual families. So I think we had about 900 or so enrollments last year of individual courses with students that were geared just towards that family market. We work with, on average, about 225 individual private Christian schools. This spans the globe, actually. We work with schools in China and many other countries as well, working in Africa, South America. But that's about 225 is that what we normally work with, and have about 500 or so that we ongoingly kind of work with based on need. When they have individual teachers that may go down, we may step in with them.
Okay. Man, that's impressive. That's really impressive. Have you seen, since you've been there, is there a big transition from people going to homeschool and private school out of public schools? Is that area growing more than normal?
I think it's grown because of COVID in part, because of kind of being forced there. I think it's growing now because people got there and they saw, wait a minute, there's some flexibility for busy schedules that may not have been there before, allowed either for more family time or for, if they were, again, dealing with special circumstances like they were in select sports and they were traveling a lot. Well, suddenly now that became something where they could fit their schedule a lot better than they had in the past. I think it's also growing because a lot of families started to recognize that, wait a minute, this online education is something that is consistently happening as a standard in the college and university realm. Mm-hmm. And so for my student to miss out on learning about online education and how to work that and how to self-manage that process to make sure that they're getting the most out of that educational environment, to jump into that in the university setting is probably not the best place to get your first taste of it. To be able to do that when you're at home and have a little bit more support, and also to get used to using technologies in that way is paramount. So I think that's why they're seeing it grow so much now.
We got about 2 minutes left before we have to bring our next co-host in. Before we go, I obviously want you and Julie to tell everybody how to get in touch with you, but I do have one more question. As far as faith-based learning goes, and the fact that it is being completely removed from our public school education, whatever the reasons are, it is. Are you seeing a transition from public school people because they want to have more of the biblical teaching and the faith-based, and they want that to be part of the curriculum? Are you seeing those people come to what you're doing?
No, absolutely. It's interesting. We've seen some of the statistics of late that have shown that there's been some growth in people that are identifying now again as being faith-based. There had been a trend for a decade or more where we saw that falling off. And I think people are returning and saying, hey, wait a minute, this matters. And it's not just about getting an education. It's getting an education that's grounded in fundamental truth. And to have seen so many students that have gone off to college where they go off and they did not have that foundational truth really ingrained, where it was something they owned, not just something they were told that this is what they should believe. This was something that they had owned themselves and come to believe for themselves. I think that makes all the difference in the world. And so we are absolutely seeing a shift back there.
That's awesome. That's
I love
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
We're
Greg,
excited.
it's been a pleasure meeting you, and I wish we had more time. We'll get Julie to bring you on again because I
I'd love
probably
that.
have 100 more questions I'd love to ask you. But tell everybody how to get in touch with you. We've been scrolling it at the bottom, but I want to make sure that they hear it just in case they can't read, just in case they didn't go through your curriculum and they know how to read.
One way you can get there is just go to our website directly, is to go to 7star.org, or you can type in 7staracademy.org. In particular, if you are an individual family or student or are looking for information, 7star.org is more geared towards the schools that may be coming our way, but certainly you can get over to our family side as well. But 7staracademy.org for the family. Or it's got my information down there as the CEO. You can call me directly, or you can send an email to me directly, and I'll help you out as far as getting engaged. We're looking to enroll students right now for the summer, and are ready to take that on right now and get people hooked into classes that they need. So we look forward to speaking with families and schools soon.
Well, awesome. Congratulations on doing something so great for the communities, for the world. Obviously, you're all over the world, but that's definitely making a difference, and that's what we want to be able to highlight that and bring attention to people that are really doing that.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah.
And Julie, real quick, if you would tell everybody, I'm going to scroll it at the bottom and tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
Sure. So my information, like Lyndon said, is scrolling at the bottom, but I'm going to also send you to our website. I want people to take a look at Super, read what it's all about and how we're unique and how we can help you personally as a homeowner or maybe as a home buyer if you happen to be working with a real estate agent or even realtors. So the web address is www.hellosuper.com. And then my personal information is julie@hellosuper.com. So again, the website is hellosuper.com. My email is julie@hellosuper.com. And then my phone number, 214-210-1106. If you have questions about plans, about pricing, about what we offer, or you just want to get to know a little bit more about Super, I'd love to answer all your questions and just help you discover that there is something better out there that is more of a maintenance type program for your home and covers the repairs and the breakdowns as well.
Awesome. Well, Julie, thank you for being such a great partner with The Difference. I love you, love your guest. You always have some really fascinating people. And I don't know where you meet them all, but
it's who you know.
You bring some good ones. You bring some good ones. Greg, great meeting you. I'm going to have to let you guys go now and bring in my my next co-host, Michelle Burlison. Hello, Michelle. You're on mute, Michelle.
There we go.
Now I can hear you.
I didn't trust the backstage thing, so I muted myself just in case.
Yeah, when you're backstage, you're automatically muted. So because sometimes this will end up like a Zoom call, and you got people, if they didn't have the mute button, you'd hear all kinds of conversations that probably they may not want you to hear. So, fortunately, our software does that automatically. But how are you doing today? Been a while since we visited. I guess a month. You were on the show last month.
Yeah, doing great. Been a very busy month. I can't believe a month has gone by already. This is surreal.
I know that I had somebody say the same thing the other day when I reached out, and they go, "Oh, I got a show coming up. It's already a month." I'm like, "Yeah, it goes faster than you think when you have these things ticking off like this."
Right. My hat's off to people like you who do this, on a recurring basis, because it's a lot of effort and it just happens one after the other.
It does. And, I was thinking that the other day. I watch a lot of media now simply because I'm trying to see good examples of people, how they do it, their transitions, different things, because I had no experience in this 18 months ago when we started, and I am still so raw and so inexperienced, but learning rapidly. So I watch all of these different hosts to try to figure, and I cannot understand for the life of me how somebody can do a 3-hour show. I mean, this is my third hour today, but it's been broken up.
Wow. Yeah.
So
yeah. I would definitely disappear at some point and go make coffee and like come back.
I know. And you know, when you listen to them and when you've done this, even for an hour show, and you listen to someone that can carry the conversation for 3 hours and not get boring, that is a super talent. I have a different respect for a lot of those radio hosts and on what they're able to do. And I know there's a lot of prep that goes into it, but some of these guys do it every day. It's not once a month or twice a month. It's 3
Yes.
hours every day. And it's amazing that I'm like, how do y'all not get bored?
Right. So I guess we are not going to quit our jobs and become disc jockeys anytime soon. Is disc jockey even the word? I
don't think that's a word anymore, but I know what it means. That dates us all a little bit, doesn't it?
For sure.
So, all right. Well, I know you've got a great guest coming on here in a second, but I want you first to tell everybody about Michelle Burlison, Schoolie Mitchell, what you do, how you help people, and how you're impacting your community.
All right. Well, of course, I love being involved with nonprofits. I just find that fun and something I do in my spare time. But also for nonprofits and for for-profit businesses, what I do professionally is I come in and I provide cost reduction consulting. And it's probably not what it sounds like on the surface, honestly. Yes, we are about delivering value and reducing what companies are spending on certain operational expenses. However, like I was telling someone the other day, and I think this is a fun analogy, like the cheapest telecom system, right, would be 2 tin cans with a string in the middle. I could really reduce someone's cost with that kind of setup. Obviously, it's going to be effective, not at all. So that's what we do. We do deliver value and reduce costs. So I do have some big implementations going on right now that are keeping me very busy in both merchant processing and telecom. And I am loving to see the progress that these companies are making, both in terms of technology and savings. It's great stuff.
It is. And I tell you what, I'm not an expert in merchant processing, but I have run a business and I have had to pay those fees. And my son actually worked for a merchant processing company for a while. And when you don't realize how much money you can save if you find the right situation. I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that is being wasted every year on merchant processing. So I would encourage anybody, if you're processing credit cards, to contact Michelle and let her evaluate that, because if there's something, I mean, more than likely you're going to be able to save some money somewhere.
Oh yeah, more than likely. And I'm not going to call out any particular business, but it's a big bank and there's a class action lawsuit against them for overcharging on the credit card processing fees.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all, but, well, all right. So tell me a little bit about your guest, and then when you're ready to bring her on, let me know, and I'll pop her in. She's sitting backstage right now, ready to go.
Awesome. Well, you can bring her in. Bring her in.
All right. Well, here we go.
Yeah. So, there she is. So this is my good friend, Karetskiy Julie, and she is one of Two Smart Girls. And so Two Smart Girls is a wonderful company that helps us ladies and men that own our own businesses. So really, Christy has really great stuff to offer. I find her intriguing because I send a lot of people just to the website and just check out the free resources. Christy gives so much away for free that other companies are charging for, but that's how much value she has to offer for the business community.
All right. Well, Christy, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do and what Two Smart Girls is all about.
Thanks, everybody. So I'm hoping I am not staticky, because you're very staticky on my end. And like Michelle said, I think she introduces me better than I introduce myself. I'm going to hire her to be my agent.
We're not hearing you very good, Christy.
Well, I am Trying my best. Can you hear me?
Barely. Let me see.
Just shout. That got a little bit better.
Well, you're very staticky on my end. So, okay, I'll shout, Michelle. So I spent the first part of my career in corporate America and then left and started my own consulting business, worked with Fortune 500s, aerospace, oil, gas, chemical, and retail, academic. And then 3 years ago, started a company to really serve female entrepreneurs and to help them learn how to transition from corporate America into business ownership, all of that goes with it. Tools, resources, education, mindset, and really helping them embrace being the CEO of their company.
That is awesome. And how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've had two smart girls for 3 years and then a consulting company for 20 years that I worked with Fortune 500s.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. And where are you located?
I'm right here in Dallas.
Right here in Dallas. And what type of business is a good business for you to work for?
That's a great question. So, business, service-oriented businesses. So, accountants, attorneys, coaches, consultants, anything in service where they're selling their knowledge and not really tangible products.
Okay, Michelle, do you have any questions? Or I'm sure as good as you know, Christy, you've probably got some things that you can talk to her about that you're more familiar than I. So I want to make sure you get in on this too.
Yeah, for sure. Christy and I could go on for 3 hours probably, but so Christy, tell us a little bit about, if you can, how you and your business partner came to meet.
Yeah, so there are two of us, obviously two smart girls. One lives in Colorado, one lives here in Dallas. I'm the Dallas part of it. And, we worked together for about 10, 12 years and just had this amazing experience of working in Ethiopia, Africa for a major airline, largest African airline, and decided to join forces and really come together. And her experience and expertise and really her passion is around systems and processes and, Trello boards and keeping things focused and on task. And mine really is about sales and mindset and confidence. So together we make quite a tag team and love working together and love working with other businesses.
Yeah, they're kind of hilarious because in ways they're super similar, and then in some ways they're polar opposite. And so it's a really good energy that they bring. And if you can get to know them both and work with them both, it's just that much more beneficial to the clients. But, one of the things in entrepreneurship that I think anybody, Lyndon, like yourself, who has done it will tell you, it's that mentality, it's that mindset. Desperate doesn't ever sell, ever, no. What you're selling. Negativity, nobody wants to be with that Debbie Downer. And you just can't afford to lock yourself in the closet when you're having a bad day. You still have to get out there. You have to deal with rejection. And so it's just very different than a corporate America gig that a lot of us were in for decades, right? And so how do you adjust your mindset to deal with those things? That's one of the many things that Christy works on.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's when we started The Difference, my objective then, that The Difference has taken on a life of its own. But in the beginning, it was a 1 hour show every week, and I wanted to talk about the fundamentals of entrepreneurs and and find out what made the difference from being acceptable and being exceptional. Because I see so many people that put in hard work. Some people rise to the top, some people get stuck in the middle. They're working equally hard, and I wanted to know what was the difference. And one of the first things that always came to mind was mindset. It was mindset. Everybody said, because here's the thing. When I start a business as a young entrepreneur, I'm thinking about all the great things. I'm thinking about all the money I'm going to make, all the good things I'm going to do, all the vacations all the great things of why I wanted to do it. I don't think about when everything blows up, how bad that's going to feel and how difficult it is. And it's those people that have prepared their minds for all the bad things that can possibly go wrong. and the strength to persevere through that, they're the ones that end up getting the furthest along. So Christy, I'm excited to hear, talk to me and talk to us about mindset, and how is that one of the biggest challenges you have in working with entrepreneurs and small in other businesses?
Yeah. So, we have a phrase that we use, that business is 80% mindset and 20% mechanics and nuts and bolts. And that really does hold true. And, what's interesting is I think it plays such a big part. It was exactly what you were talking about. People envision the end state. They envision the success. They envision what it's going to be like when they are this profitable, revenue generating business. But it takes time to get there. And I don't think they realize the hardships that go into it. So I think mindset is all about confidence. It's about believing in what you're doing and what you're selling. We work with women who are terrified to sell, to put themselves out there, to really toot their own horn, to say, hey, look at me, I'm good at what I do. That comes from a whole host of things, especially from corporate America. In corporate America, we're taught to be a team player. We're taught to not toot our own horn. We're taught to, play by the rules, play within the guidelines in the box. And then you get out into entrepreneurship, and it's exactly the opposite. You have to unlearn everything that you've been learning all of these years. And so when we work with people, it's about the resiliency and the grit, because quite frankly, you're going to fail more than you do succeed in the beginning. And we see women who just cannot handle the failure. They'll try it once. They'll make a Facebook post once. They want success after it. We're like, it doesn't work that way. You have to do it over and over and over. It's about consistency and showing up. And so many times they'll say, oh, but I'm only charging $40. Why is no one buying? And I said, because no one knows who you are. So, people, we like to say, well, people go into Starbucks, people go into Target, and they drop money all the time because they know them. They know those brands. They know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to deliver. They don't know us. And so that takes time for us to build up that muscle memory of where people recognize us and know what we do. And no client ever comes to us saying, I have mindset issues. They come to us saying, I don't know how to find clients. I don't know how to convert clients. I don't know how to create visibility for myself. We know the number one thing is a mindset problem, but we have to give them the tools and the pieces and say, okay, do this. And then we have to weave in the mindset work with it.
I love that. You're absolutely right. One of the things that I have always preached with the difference is that most businesses don't struggle or fail because they have a bad product or service. They struggle or fail because not enough people knew what they were doing. And if you don't have a strong mindset, you're going to quit when you feel like you're being rejected, but you're not being rejected. It's just if nobody knows you, they're not going to reach out to ask for your help or your service. So one of the other questions, getting back to to mindset, you mentioned the corporate, coming out of the corporate world. And that has fascinated me now for 20 years. I'm going to give a quick story. I don't want to take up this time, but I think this is important. My mother worked for a corporation for 19 and a half years. She was a corporate nurse. She was getting ready to retire at year 20, and she got laid off at 19 and a half years. That was my first bad taste of corporate life. I realized right then I didn't want to work for a corporation. I didn't know anything about being an entrepreneur because I was young, but I knew that I wasn't going to fire me. So, I just had to figure out how to make it work. So I don't really have that experience of coming and transitioning from corporate world into entrepreneurship and all the things that you just said, Christy, that I know are valid. But what do you think about when, in many cases, when we're in corporate world, we have a limited role of responsibility, right? We're kind of more of a specialist. A lot of times when problems happen, somebody else is there to take care of those problems. When you're an entrepreneur, no one else is there to take care of those problems. How big of a challenge is that, coming from corporate and realizing that every problem that has to be solved by you?
Yeah, that is, we jokingly say that CEO stands for Chief Everything Officer. And that really is what it is that, when we are in corporate, there are people being paid. That is their sole responsibility to help us be successful in our role. And vice versa. We are hired to help somebody else be successful. And so we don't think about all of those tedious jobs in corporate that we now have to have ownership of. Somebody has to do accounting. Somebody has to do sales. Somebody has to do product development. Somebody has to do marketing. Somebody has to do, all of these things that when you are sitting in corporate, you've got somebody taking care of that for you. And, I just read an article the other day and I thought it was so candid and so on point that a person said, I was the VP of marketing for a Fortune 500 company. And yet I was very, very successful in my role. I had a lot of influence, a lot of credibility, a lot of success behind me. And yet I knew nothing about doing that role when I went out to be an entrepreneur, because it's a completely different shift. And you're not just doing what you're good at. I think that's the thing about it. So many people are like, I'm really good at this, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. That's actually a very small piece of what you're doing on a daily basis. And so you have to get good. You have to be resilient. You have to be, you have to have the sense of agility to pick up and learn quickly and stumble and fall. My big thing is fail early and fail fast. Like the sooner you fail, the sooner you fall down, the quicker you pick yourself back up. You learn from that experience and you keep going. And I think that's probably the toughest part, is that people really aren't conditioned to fail. Primarily the majority of the women we work with are Gen Xers, and very much like what you're talking about. They have been born and raised in financial crisis. Their parents were laid off, furloughed, first time that they ever saw that happen, 19 and a half years away from 20-year retirement, and their parents were let go. And so this this mindset of corporate brings security actually means the opposite for them. But they get in and they like the perks and they like the benefits, and they've been there 20 years and they're like, well, I can't leave. And so it is a lot of shifting and picking up roles that you never thought you'd have to, and you may not like them. And as soon as you start making money, you're like, okay, what am I going to outsource because I don't like it and I don't want to do it. You pick that up quickly.
It is. And when you mentioned something about the Gen Xers, and we've had a couple of shows where some gentlemen were talking about that, about how we're kind of conditioned through schooling even that corporate way is a way to go. And being that entrepreneur and having a different mindset, there's so many different jobs. There's so many different responsibilities. And I feel like that we are paid according to the responsibility we're willing to accept and how well we can perform it. Right. So here's the one question. We've got about 8 minutes left, but this is a really big question. And I can't believe you teed me up for this, because when you are good at the job you're going to do, but you've got to learn marketing, you've got to learn sales, you've got to learn all these different things. For most of us, the time it takes to learn it, to be good enough to execute it, takes so much time away from the money-making part of the job that we got in for. And so how important is it to find the mentor, to outsource the different things, to find that company like yours that can take care of some of those things and take that burden off of us? I'm a person that thinks I can do it all. And I'm proving every day that I can't, but I still think that I can. I think I just one more day and I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to save so much money. I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. I've lost so much money thinking I can do it all. And it's just, this show has taught me so much, because I get to speak to professionals like you, and it reinforces where I've been wrong. And so I want you to talk about that a little bit, about why it's so important to let go of the pride, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's pride. Sometimes it's just, I don't want to spend the money because money's tight. I don't have a big budget. But how important is it to find the right support group, whatever that may be, to help you with the things you don't know anything about?
Yeah, so it's critical. I mean, we say that all the time. Like, as an entrepreneur, your most valuable resource is your time. And every minute is either making money or spending money. And I think that they come out and they've been this expert in what they've done, and they're very gifted and they're very qualified to do the job. But now running a business looks totally different than doing the job. And so then they dig in and they're like, I'm going to take a course. I'm going to get a certification. I'm going to, and it's always, they want to learn all of the nuts and bolts behind it. But the reality is, while you're learning, somebody else is out there selling whatever it is you want to sell. And so you have to figure out, what do I need to know and what do I have to know? And that is where, first thing is, I hate to do finances. I hate accounting. That's the first thing that I outsource. right? Because there are people there who are going to be better and more knowledgeable than me. And I'm going to set my time trying to learn about accounting, which I could be selling some person on coaching or mentoring or advising. And I think it's the biggest thing. We think of it as spending money, but many times it's making money. So, for instance, I have a client right now. She's still in corporate America. She wants to start her own company. She invested 3 months to work with us, and last month was her second month. And she told us on the last coaching call, she's like, I made $3,600 last month by working with you, because she knew what to focus on. We eliminated what not to focus on, what to focus on. We became very clear in her offers. We became very clear on what she should be charging. We looked at places she could get visibility and really broaden her brand. And she's still in corporate America. And what it's done for her is it's given her confidence that she can do it. And number 2, it's given her quick wins and making money on the side. That's the way it is. Oh,
you're on mute, London. The quote of 2020. You're on mute.
Oh my God. You would think I would know by now, right? I wanted to say thank you, Michelle, for introducing the difference audience and crowd to Christy. Christy, I've enjoyed this conversation. I hope to have you back. I'm not sure what our audio problems are today, but I want you to come back when we clear that up. Because I've got another, just like I said on the earlier guest, 30 minutes is not enough time. I'm a question asker. I'm going to ask a million questions because I want to learn and I want to know. And so, Christy, I want to thank you for being our guest today. I want you to tell everybody how to get in touch with you. I didn't get any information. I did get some from Michelle, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it into our scrolls today. But tell everybody how to reach you. If anybody out there is looking for some help, and then Michelle, I want you to do the same, and then we're going to close out.
Yeah, so you can reach us, the number 2 smartgirls.com. That's our website. Go there. We get a lot of harassment all the time. Do you only work with women? I have actually spent an entire career working in predominantly male organizations, aerospace, chemicals, oil and gas. We do help men. We are very passionate about helping women, just because that is a huge need to serve right now, but we do help men. And you can reach me personally at Christy at the number 2 smartgirls.com, and my phone number is 614-264-1488. And then you can also find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook site. It is TWO on our Facebook site. Like Michelle said, we give away a lot of resources, a lot of information, just trying to get you started, get you on that path to success. So if there's anything that I can help with, please reach out, because I just want to see people create the wealth that they want to create and the success they imagine creating.
Oh, London, you're on mute again.
No, I'm not. You couldn't hear me. I want you to, I'm telling Christy, thank you for being on the show. And Michelle, I'm scrolling your information, but I want you to share that with everybody too. And then we're going to close it out.
Absolutely. And if anybody didn't catch Christy's information, you can always get to Christy through me or vice versa. So feel free to reach out to either one of us. I am Michelle Burlison at Schooley Mitchell, 972-814-2409 for text or phone calls, and the world's longest email address, which is michelle.burlison@schooleymitchell.com.
That might be true. I thought mine was long, but that's a good one. So
yeah.
Well, ladies, thanks again. Christy, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I think what you're doing is fabulous. And like I said, I can't wait to have you on again. So Michelle, let's get her back on here again. Hopefully we can get all the audio cleared up so everybody can hear. But until next week, we'll have shows coming up again next week. So tune in, watch us, see what's making the difference in your community.